Okay, guys, here we go. We're back again, and there we go. Yeah, didn't anticipate really doing a live today, but there's so much to talk about. I just figured might as well go live, and we might as well cover what's happening because, it just feels like something really big may happen at any moment. And, here we go. We have another earthquake we're going to talk about. Tomorrow, 8/21 is a date that's been sticking in my mind for a while, and you never know, what days are going to give you big surprises. But it just feels like we're in the thick of it, and there was something astrologically that was pointing to this week being really a rough week, and I do think tomorrow, is one to watch as well. KK is number one in the house, and Jen and the Birds right there. Two wonderful ladies.
I know, and I think there was a Nicole sighting in there, which is wonderful. Hey. Hello there, Miss Nicole. Israel, glad you could make it. Oh, Ron, good to see you. Oh, okay, hello, Miss Regina. Good to see you, Gary Coons. Only people who are going to wake up are the ones who don't understand that everything happening now is completely, it's pretty rough out there. Miss Susan Donahue, thank you so much for all of your support. Christine Love, good to see you.
Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, can we get a sound check? Checkity check checkity check check.
Or Susan or Jen, can you hear us just to make sure? Because Ron was saying no sound.
Okay, and let me check with people. They were missing.
Okay, good.
Oh, good.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, because you never know if it's, you don't want it to be the broadcast. Some people might have a problem with their computer.
Yeah, it happens. And, it was just this morning we were doing something and we had sound on one screen and then no sound on another screen. It was just weird. And we went in and we found out that for whatever reason, the sound was instantly shut off. So there's that.
Yeah, so thank you guys for letting us know. Ron, maybe try to come back in on another browser or reboot if it was just your computer. So
sometimes, Ron, I don't know, but I've done that, and I actually had a Bluetooth. My phone was connecting to the truck's Bluetooth, and I had no sound. So maybe if you have the Bluetooth on, maybe that's a small problem. Oh, cool, good.
Yeah. So welcome, Janet, as well, and Angela. Great to see you guys. It's another big earthquake.
Yes.
YT Shenanigans. Oh man, we went live with Arwayne Steiger earlier today at noon for an hour and a half, and he was having the hardest time with buffering and glitching, and it happened like the last 2 or 3 shows we did with him. It's crazy. Okay, guys, so we also had a problem where this got wiped out on our site. We have one of our family members who's really gifted and talented with everything, like working on websites. That's what they do. And so they've been updating ours, and they noticed that the links were blocked, and they had to fix it. But sabotage, I kid you not. Somebody went in and screwed up on our testimonials, which several years ago, somebody went into our website and just wiped out all of our testimonials. And then about 9-10 years ago, I had 1,000 recommendations on Facebook for energy work and the other stuff that I do. And Facebook shut me down. They didn't even give me any notice. They just closed my account, and I didn't have it all backed up. So they really got me on that one. And here we go. Yes, it's another earthquake. This is in Peru. A lot of Peru is desert. Peru's mountainous. Peru is an amazing country, really. It's just an amazing country. So they're calling it a 6.7 on the USGS, but others are calling this a 7.2. I don't know what would cause all that dirt to rise up like that. That's a little strange unless something had collapsed. But we were watching before the mountains with, all the dirt and soot and everything rising on up. This one's listed as 99 kilometers deep, which is fairly deep. It's really like an intermediary depth.
También muchos lugares han evacuado a los amigos a los exteriores, han evacuado de las instalaciones. Amigo, temblor estado, el temblor. Claro, papá. Muy fuerte.
No se me asustó el movimiento fuerte. Fuerte, así me miraba el techo, me agarraba de la columna, este techo se movía.
Sí, yo estaba en Perú, así la gente salía a la calle corriendo.
Sí, pues, papá.
Mientras que Dios nos tenga,
Que Dios nos tenga la compasión de nosotros, papá, que no pase nada.
sí, gracias, mamita.
Gracias, papá.
Yeah, very strong, she was saying, and it's causing the buildings to sway. I don't think we have the damage that we've seen in Venezuela and Colombia. I hope that is the case. But at the same time, you don't know if this is going to lead to something bigger. It just feels like it's one after the other. And, I was going to point out, too, besides Peru there was a lot of quakes up in the Aleutians. When you look at the way they were listed this morning, even now you can see there's like a string. I've seen this before, but something was hitting me as really a little unusual this morning when I was looking at this. If we look at 7 days, all magnitude, there you go. Yeah, the Aleutians get a lot of quakes, but still, I mean, you're right on the Ring of Fire. But the volume was pretty massive. This right here is 1 week. This is 1 week. 2,000 quakes, basically. Between a little bit of Kamchatka here, over through the Aleutians, Alaska, and then down to the Pacific Northwest and all the way down to LA. Something big is coming. We all kind of feel it. What is coming? That's the thing. What exactly is coming? And how long until it arrives? As I'm looking at this right now, that's quite a bit of activity up in Washington. Just saying. I look at this every day, so and multiple times a day. Cindy will tell you, I check the quakes almost hourly.
Yeah, indeed. A lot going on in that area, and it's just kind of suspicious how things are unraveling and they're unfolding, and the weather has been just really, really strange. And the earthquakes have been rather large over the last month or so, and it doesn't seem like they're really slowing down. And I don't know if this is going to be a slow trajectory where the earthquakes are going to go up or up and up, or if things are going to level out again. It's just hard to say. We have been watching the sun, the sun sneezes and so on, and that definitely affects our consciousness. And anyone out there, if you're having a hard time, just like a hard time, I'm so sorry, it's just hard right now. Know that you are not alone.
No, you're not alone at all. So Angela Bloom says lots of gold and silver mines in the area, and this is exactly what we were just researching. I asked Cindy to do a little research for me, and yeah, it turns out Peru is another area with a lot of valuable assets. I really feel that there is, this is just my feeling, and Cindy kind of agrees, I think, that there's this covert warfare going on over some areas to force people to side with one of the two sides that will be fighting the WW3 against each other. And this is one of those areas. China made a lot of inroads into South America, and the U.S. is trying to assert its Western Hemisphere dominance. It feels that the timeline we're on is one in which, just to reiterate, Trump again, he was saying they're leaving NATO. We're going to leave NATO. What has NATO done for us? It didn't back us up in the Middle East, right? And we know that the war in Iran is what's causing a huge problem with oil, gas prices, and just overall inflation on basic goods again, even more. And if it keeps increasing, if this gets hotter for the last part of the year, you're going to be rolling into some serious shortages in places that are not used to shortages. And, the inflation side of it is just going to keep escalating. It's already getting really tough and tight for people out there. We've felt it ourselves. The rare earth, not just rare earth minerals, but gold, silver. There's a lot of different treasure trove of natural resources in this area. Venezuela, don't forget, before the Venezuelan quakes came, there was this issue going on with the oil field off of Venezuela's coast, and who's going to get to it, who's going to have access to it. When you look at a lot of the big mega corporations that are really kind of anchored here in the U.S., you start to wonder who's really calling the shots. Yeah, crazy times. That's hard to watch, kids. This is just, again, I just don't believe this is natural. I mean, Mother Earth's going to be doing these things, but I'm looking at the patterns, the way things are moving, and the way the war is bearing out. And then if we start to look into the geopolitical and the economic interests, it just feels like there's something else going on here.
Yeah, and it's always kind of ongoing. And how do we take in all this but not attach to it? And I think that's what we try to teach. It's like, don't get attached to it. Don't put your hard-earned energy into this, because I think it's multi-level. I think they get people who are innocently out just looking at the news, and they aim to pull you down, and don't let that happen. We always talk about Buddhist detachment, and a lot of you are really, you're getting that down. It's important, and it takes practice. So it's okay to know what's going on out in the world. You don't have to go down with it.
Yeah, so our brother Israel says, well, all this cray-cray going on, I almost feel bad because I've been on cloud 9 since 3 a.m. today. Yeah, for me personally, today was the best I have felt in maybe months, which is weird, because I've been going through a lot of stuff from tick bites. And, I've been trying to add certain herbs, add different vitamins, omit certain foods. And, I dropped like a quick 20 pounds, and I feel fabulous. I mean, I really feel so good. Starting last night, I started to feel really good. And today, it's just carried over. I feel extra sharp mentally. I feel like, because I was feeling a lot of fog. And, that foggy feeling where you just don't feel like yourself. Well, yeah, I feel really good. So I think this is a lot also to do with ascension. Because I think we're going through energy changes naturally. And if we are really working on ourselves and working on our diet and exercise and that mind, body, spirit practice, I think we could be going to all new heights. And I think we would be if it wasn't for all the crap and chaos that keeps trying to bring us down.
Yeah, I think we're just going to get better and better and better moving forward. We're going to get better at this. And I think one of the more important things we can learn in this life is just be the eye of the storm. Let everything fall down all around you. You be that center. You be that zen. You be that peace that's not falling with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Susan Donahue says something has felt different. Something has lifted. I agree. I think we've timeline shift into a better possibility. Even with that all said, the likelihood of, again, economic warfare, geopolitical warfare, it's still all there, but it feels like we're shifting away from things being as damaging as they could be. One life lost in this chaos is too many lives lost. But we understand, the souls, they come here for experiences. They come here to learn and to love and to grow and to share. When we look at the bigger picture, when we get back home on the other side, which is really more our home than here, this is like going to the amusement park. This is what we were talking about. It's like going to the amusement park and you're actually on the ride right now. You are on the ride, right? So we're in the middle of it. We're in the thick of it. I don't think this is a 6.7. I just venture to guess. They're trying to call it, see, all the local channels are calling it 7.2. And the USGS, which we know is the USBS service, or DS for downgrading service, they're trying to hide the connection. But no, I think this is another one in the sevens.
Está pasando un temblor, felizmente ya calmó, gracias a Dios, pero ha sido de regular intensidad. No sé dónde será el epicentro.
And so, they're all calling it 7.2. Locally, again, being almost 100 kilometers deep, that negates some of the shaking on the surface. At the same time, when you keep seeing these deeper quakes, that means something else is going to pop up along, the line. So, we had them over here, and here. We had up in Mexico. To me, it feels like it's either going to bounce south into Chile, Argentina, or bounce more north up towards California and our west coast. But we'll have to see what happens. But just be aware and be ready. As Dutch would always say, have an earthquake plan, but you might need a wildfire plan. You might need a flooding plan. You just got to be ready, basically.
You do, and you don't want to drive yourself crazy getting ready either. Do your best, have a little knapsack you can grab if you need to on the way out the door or something, and don't forget something for the pets and something for yourself. But there's so many different things, catastrophes that could happen out there. I wouldn't plan your days around it. Just do what you can and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been some quake activity in China that's a little bit unusual too, pretty far in off of the plate boundaries. So tit for tat warfare could be. How about this type of warfare? Drought. This is getting worse. And when we understand that we're in El Nino, and again, now they're calling it like a super El Nino, a once in a 1,000-year type of event. We're getting a lot of those lately, aren't we? Well, look at the red zone. So when you look at this, D4 is kind of that brownish red, and then D3, the bright red. D4 is exceptional, and D3 is extreme. And then when we're in the darker tan, the D2, it's severe. So as we look at this, you could see, like in Arkansas, you got pockets. This is actually the severe and extreme going on. When we look to Oklahoma, it's really bad. And then the same thing rolling on through northern New Mexico. Looks like a vast majority of Colorado, and then going on up even above that, Wyoming. And you could see Utah and Idaho and Oregon. The drought is expanding, and also in pockets even in Virginia and the Carolinas and Florida. Not a good situation because, well, as far as the South goes, our territory here, again, when these conditions happen, it'll get drier. It'll tend to get a little bit drier, and it could be also getting drier out west, but sometimes you get more relief actually through the Four Corners area with El Niños. But again, in these times, gosh, you don't know. And Puerto Rico is experiencing crazy drought. We were talking about water rationing there. You know, I mean, the WEF told us, you know, they told us you might not get climate change, but you'll understand it when it comes to water. Because again, yeah, we could live for quite a while without food. Without water, not as long. Absolutely days. That's about it. And, you know, it just feels like we're getting picked on a little, doesn't it?
Weather's a little weird. It's a little extreme, and last winter was kind of extreme for this area too. So not exactly sure what to make of that, but just very grateful that we didn't end up, you know, in a really long power outage situation. We feel very blessed and so on when it comes to that. But again, you know, I do think the goal is to soften us emotionally and physically, to get us to go along with whatever they say, you know, and sometimes you can push back and sometimes you can't. Not everyone is going to take the same path, but we're all here to do something a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Israel was just in Peru and had a wonderful adventure there too. Seeking Truth 56. Sorry, your fibromyalgia is kicking your butt. There's lots you could do with that, especially from a dietary standpoint. Also energy work. Just saying, I don't know if you've tried all the alternative things that are out there, because I think really we could kind of get rid of, in my opinion, I believe we could overcome any of these things through dietary manipulation, proper herbs, and nutrition, along with, you know, certain technologies and energy work. It's just amazing. I really don't see, and I am somebody that worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I worked there, gosh, what was it? I think it was 2002 to 2007. And, you know, I didn't see people getting better. I'm just saying, that wasn't my experience. In that industry, I didn't see people getting better. I saw people getting richer. And then going the alternative route, I have seen people get totally better, even from stage 4 cancers, when they try natural remedies.
It can be hard, but there are things you can do, but there are a lot of things you have to give up and really, really mean it. You know, for Mike to get through what he did, he had to go to extreme. And there was a few days when he was just eating, out of all the foods on the planet, he could only eat 2. And he did that for a few days. And then he started adding stuff back in, and we noticed, okay, that's not going to work. And so he went back to the same 2 foods that he knew he could eat. And he had to be extreme. And that's what I'm saying. And sometimes you have to give up things that you absolutely do not want to give up, just so you can shift that energy to get some relief. But I learned a lot from pain. Pain taught me a whole lot. It really, when you're in pain, you sit there and you think about the problem and how to make it better. And that is the gift of pain, even though I don't like it. And it was really horrible when I was going through it. But that was my biggest teacher, my greatest teacher.
And when you talk about impacts to the food supply, a drought that looks to be like the one that's developing now, you can see most of the country is in drought. The only ones that aren't are the states in white here, and that's parts of certain states. You know, thankfully, California's got a decent amount of water right now, because so much of our food does come from California. That would be, you know, the thing that could impact the food supply even more in times like this. And then you have the opposite side of it with the massive floods. This was in South Korea. You know, again, it just keeps going on. The extremes are getting more and more extreme. Grenada seismic sequence exceeds 620 earthquakes. About 600 residents evacuated in Spain. This is a little bit of an unusual area to have 600 quakes. Again, this is very close to the Strait of Gibraltar and Ceuta. Now, Ceuta, what do we have going on? We had that whole thing with the migrants crossing the border into the Spanish side, albeit it is on the African continent. But isn't it interesting how we have all the earthquakes going on in an area of geopolitical tension? Just a coincidence, right?
So huge thank you to Miss Nina the Mystic. Go over there and sub to her channel. Good to see you. Thank you, Nina. And I saw a JW sighting. Wow, you missed the gong, JW, but you could go back yesterday and do it again. But there's nothing like a gong in real life.
Yeah, I know JW is very, very gifted and feels energy very well and strongly. So, JW, did you feel that shift, that energetic shift that some of us felt today? It just felt like, even though this news that we're going over is not the greatest news, it does feel like we've stepped onto a lighter timeline. Heavy rain triggers evacuations. This is in Sichuan, China as well. Over 21,000 people had to be evacuated from risk across 64 counties. And thank you so much, Nina. We appreciate it. We'll have to get together again. It's just craziness what we're witnessing. It's escalating to all new levels. There was a gold mine that collapsed in Central African Republic. More than 100 people reported dead after a landslide and a collapse at an artisanal gold mining site in Central African Republic. This happened on the 18th, 2 days ago. Recovery is still underway. Some of the people that do the mining in these places, the conditions are it just takes you back to the Anunnaki and the Gigi. Not good. It's horrible and very dangerous. And as you see, 100 people lost their lives in this collapse. Oh man, it's a mess. We pray for them and for all their family members. And then we have a landslide that kills 5 at a railway construction site, and this is in China as well. China's getting hit hard. They're getting hit real hard. So, I got to wonder if there is such a thing as earthquake machines. I wonder who's really delivering most of the blows. And there's a lot of things going on out there. Well, as far as the KP, that's settled down currently, as you can see. It's a little bit over 3 right now. So, there's nothing unusual there. Nothing too active with the sun. We do have a massive coronal hole, but we've had a massive coronal hole for quite a while now. And the Schumann, it still is getting these surges of whiteouts, although a little bit less right now. Maybe that and the KP has something to do with the feelings energetically.
I think it's so extremely connected when we're dealing with the KP, the Schumann, our emotions. Anything that affects the realm in which we live and breathe and exist in, it's definitely going to affect your emotions one way or the other. The cosmic storms, all of that has some kind of a play. Plus your planets. Let's not forget the planets, planetary alignments, non-alignments, things of that nature. Miss KK, thank you so much. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, you guys. Yeah, definitely. It's all those things. And even though you might think something else made you cranky, well, maybe you got in a fight with your boss, or maybe your partner was mean to you or something like that. It could very well just be the cosmic energy, jabbing you in the ribs there. Miss Nina, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know you guys are probably familiar with this, but maybe you're not. The Rockefeller Brothers Fund, under the leadership of David Rockefeller and Henry Kissinger, founded the United Nations Panel on Climate Change. The IPCC funded it with nearly unlimited resources going forward. In the climate change arena, the Rockefellers call the shots. The whole thing was their idea, and they took a silly but interesting theory and amped it up with hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. They founded institutions. They linked the survival of those institutions to promoting climate change, which, again, we understand that thing, the Depop thing. They adopted one likely politician after another. By 98, the Rockefeller family had swept the table clean of any opposition to the idea. When you see them all harping, just like parrots, the exact same phrases, no matter what channel you turn to, they're being fed a script. Actually, one of our family members may be listening now. We have a family member that literally worked in the news industry and literally was the person that would go get the script at 2 a.m. every morning and bring it to, bring it to the anchor. And they were told what to say, what they were going to say, how they were going to say it, because there was an agenda there. It wasn't just covering whatever is organically happening. No, it's an agenda. People are just starting to realize this. So, again, by 98, the Rockefeller family had swept the table clean of any opposition to, climate change as a science and what's really happening. Any scientist not on board with the agenda was imperiled. Any university department not working towards this one goal, because money speaks. And if you don't get your endowments and you don't get your funds coming in from the corporate level or in the federal level, you're going to be in trouble. And again, being in danger of being marginalized, infiltration had begun into every media organization, every entertainment division of every major corporation. Between the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds family, can you imagine a world which those families don't exist? What would things look like? I mean, of course, there'd probably be 2 other puppet families, but, you got to think that, we could change things real quick with people waking up to the manipulation that has gone on. We're living a script.
I know. And I just don't want to miss anybody but I'm probably going to miss people. But I always like to say hi to everyone. Ray, good to see you. Good to see you. And who else do we have? Oh, I see that. JW. Well, thank you. Thank you, JW. That is very helpful over there on Ko-Fi. We definitely appreciate that. Please stick around for the end dings tonight. Maria, good to see you. Running the gauntlet. And we have a purple unicorn sighting. Thanks, you guys, for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, JW. We appreciate you and everything that you're doing each day, anchoring the light where you can. Here you have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, right? Let's see what words of wisdom he has.
Today that I don't really understand. Our announcement is the oil prices today that I don't really understand.
The Treasury Secretary doesn't understand that the oil prices are going up. We got a spike in oil prices. I don't really understand. Maybe it's like, the tankers that are being sunk. Maybe it's the fires and the drones and the missiles that are taking out all of our, resources and wars that just simply don't have to be. I mean, this war in Iran was just the most ridiculous, obvious tactic to instigate all this economic chaos. It didn't have to happen. Iran was no obvious threat. That was just ridiculous. I think 80% of America probably believes the same thing at this point.
And we interrupt this broadcast for dings and roars because JW, he did pay for it after all. So give me just a moment. Okay, we're going to do it again, JW. Are you ready for this? You ready? Okay. I wonder if I can trick them twice in a row. We're going to try.
Maybe.
And a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a... Did I get you? Roar! I hope I got you. Hold on. Here's a ding. Here's a ding. Here's a ding.
You got sassy to jump.
Okay, back to our broadcast.
There are those that believe that Putin's in his last maybe months, because there is word too that there are definitely geopolitical issues going on inside of Russia itself. A lot of people are tired of the war, and they don't like to go to a fuel station and they're closed. Russia runs out of petrol at 7 in 10 stations. 70% of their stations ran out of fuel as the fuel crisis worsens. This is not good. This is what drives countries when you get into these type of situations, and then they're scavenging for supplies. In my mind, just me, my personal thoughts are, we just saw big quakes on the whole northern tier of South America in areas that are, again, rich in natural resources. Venezuela, certainly. I mean, that's the most oil in the world right there. So what we're watching, I think it's all about really the battle that's coming. Ultimately, the U.S. against China when you get down to it. I don't know if Russia is always going to be allied with China. I really don't think they will be. That's just something I feel too in time. But, you have Trump saying he's going to leave NATO or wants to leave NATO. Why should we stay in NATO? It feels to me that he has given like a nod to Russia that, if you do something with Poland or the Baltic nations, he won't do anything. But at the same time, I think he wants to control Cuba and the northern part of South America. And I feel like the earthquakes have something to do with that.
Yeah, I feel it's all interconnected. I don't think this is Earth acting on her own accord at all. I don't think she would be acting up much if there wasn't so much toxic energy in the world. And, it really, truly, it all starts with us. We have to sit down and take a good, hard, cold look at ourselves in the mirror and say, where can I do better? Because ultimately, you are the only one that you can control. We can't control anything out there. You can control the one that is looking back at you in the mirror.
Yes, absolutely. So, 70%, can you imagine if that happens here in the U.S.? 70% of our gas stations have to shut down in certain areas. This is just, it's a wake-up call, because that's where we're heading unless they resolve this war scenario. Tajikistan. So Tajikistan is turning to Iran now because Russia's fuel crisis is squeezing it to the point where they're going to have to keep it for themselves instead of, exporting again to their allies. Tajikistan was part of the Soviet Union, so I'll bring up the earthquake map, just in case. That's probably one of those countries where a lot of people don't know exactly where it is. Here's Turkmenistan, you have Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and there's Tajikistan. So, here, this is a natural ally of Russia just because it was part of the Soviet Union, but it also borders on China. So there's a lot of geopolitical going on with this disruption in fuel. And at the same time, it causes a lot of suffering for the average people in all these countries who really don't have anything to say or do about it. It's not like we really can affect too much when it comes to keeping the military from striking places and, all these things that constantly happen. Nobody really wanted the Vietnam War. We got sold a bill of goods. They got people angry enough with 9/11 to get behind them for maybe the first part of the wars that we saw, first part, Iraq and Afghanistan. And of course, Iraq got hit twice. You had Papa Bush, hitting them the first time. And then now you have the ongoing creation of the GI project, the Greater that little country project. EU, natural gas hits 2023 energy crisis levels as Trump's economic D-Day clouds Hormuz reopening. Yeah, it's from Zero Hedge, by the way. It's all coming together in this perfect storm, and we've been watching it slowly coming towards us like a freight train. It's going to be very, very tough, I think, especially in this winter, heading into winter. Because think about what they're doing here with creating these shortages. And if natural gas is going to be in short supply, I mean, certainly, obviously, the prices are going to be going up. And when you have to spend, $500, $700, what if it's $1,000 to keep your house warm a month? That just is something that will just ruin people economically. And then what if they can't get it? What if there's shortages to the point where, not everybody has fireplaces anymore or wood-burning stoves or, again, alternatives. You're very lucky if you do have the alternatives, but be aware it could be a very cold winter in some places with short supply of fuel.
Yeah, I think it's just going to get to the point where sometimes people will have to work together, even if they don't like each other, just, and that's the silver lining in any situation. And I've been in some pretty difficult situations myself. I've had to find the silver lining because you have to wake up every day. You have to get up every day and get dressed and do the things. So you can spend your time being angry at yourself or other people, or you can find that silver lining and get up and get dressed. And like JW says, look yourself in the mirror and say, I am enough, and get out there and do something.
So what happened here was basically the catalyst was an overnight Truth Social post from Trump declaring economic D-Day against Iran. The announcement raised the probability of prolonged disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, and then that causes massive fluctuations. Think about the power that somebody has to be a president of a country like this, make a statement, and the commodities are going to vastly swing in one direction. So can you imagine telling your friends and family, oh, you might want to buy now because here it is. It's at a good low point because we're going to make a statement and you watch, it's going to go soar. And then, you might make another statement saying, well, I think we got a deal in hand. And then it's going to drop. And they play the market like this. And it's not just, Republicans, it's Democrats too. It's just the whole political system has been corrupt from the get-go. That's the takeaway. They're like all crime syndicates, and they want you to get behind their crime syndicate, but it's all of us that are paying.
It is. It really, really is. And Israel says it helps me. What helps me is the realization of the universe. If the universe it's conspiring with me, not against me. That's very important. Know that if something's happening that you don't like, you're probably being protected in some way, shape, or form, and let it be.
Yes, thank you, Brother Israel. And exactly, because in other ways, when we look at the bigger scheme of things, and I know you guys get this is all for our growth. It really is. It's all for soul growth. We are eternal beings. This is the thing to get through. We don't need anybody to give us anything to be an eternal being. We already are eternal beings. We're not the body. We have a body, but we're not the body. And in the bigger scheme of things, when we set up these trying times to really test us, this is where we get the most growth and the most expansion.
Indeed, it is. And that's a good thing. We need it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, NATO jet destroys a drone loaded with explosives meters from Black Sea gas project. Oh, well, is that surprising? As irresponsible Russia slammed, again, we understand the whole concept, too, of setting up these fake banners, the FFs. But whether it is or isn't, both sides will always attack each other and always trying to blame the other. It's just the way it works in warfare. Romania spotted the threat around Neptune Deep and quickly sent out F-16 jets to blast away the drone, as officials accused Russia of being behind the dangerous act. It was a Marine drone, as you could see a photo representing it, and there you go. It went boom. So the takeaway here is, again, they're trying to expand the war. They're trying to get us to accept the idea that this war is going to expand into a NATO BRICS war. Now, one thing to recognize is Turkey is preparing for war with Israel. Yeah, because Israel's preparing to take over quite a few other countries, and the global war against Israel will soon start. And again, those that look to Ezekiel 38 say, see, it's just basically that, fulfilling itself. Well, it's in the script. It's in the script that you and I and we all are watching play out. So, of course, they're going to fulfill what has been given, because who really gave it in the first place? That's the key. Again, how do we know something was literally written thousands of years ago when they're burning books every day and rewriting things as we go? Yes, it's a matter of faith. But then why should we have faith, again, in leadership that always leads us down these dark paths time and time again? It's time for humanity to wake up and take control of the situation ourselves. Yeah, absolutely. Turkey, again, has made a pact with Saudi Arabia and Turkey, Saudi Arabia, what was the third one? Pakistan. And that is actually a pretty powerful pact. That would be a significant adversary militarily to Israel. But, when you look to Ezekiel 38, what happens? There's some sort of divine intervention that happens. It almost sounds like a plague that happens. And, it's just fascinating to look at it, because when we realize, like we were talking with Wayne today, that when we see the wars on Earth, in some ways the wars on Earth are proxy wars of what we would call extraterrestrials. In reality, these are like proxy wars. You go back to Plato's Critias, and talks about the world being divided up by the sons of the gods. Yes, the gods, the Deuteronomy 32:8 and Psalm 82. It all is telling the same thing, that certain tribes were claimed by certain groups of these beings that are, again, mighty ones. And, what we see is proxy wars. And this war does look like it's probably going to be expanding as we move from summer into fall and winter. So, Turkey is an interesting one to watch. Again, it's the second strongest military in NATO after the U.S. Meanwhile, in France, this was happening in the U.S. Wasn't this happening in Florida and Texas? Well, like America, France is now releasing hundreds of thousands of male tiger mosquitoes over Toulouse, Montpellier, and Lyon. Oh, you know who's funding this? Genetically modified mosquitoes released by the millions. There are mosquito factories that produce millions of mosquitoes in South America and also in other places around the world. Why would we want to create more vectors for pestilence and plague? It doesn't make any sense. But then again, what they did on Plum Island doesn't make any sense with the ticks now, does it?
No, it's all pretty awful, but it does make sense if you factor in the thought. Now, this is just a thought, and it's an idea that maybe, just maybe, they want us to be in pain and suffer, so we have to go to the DR and keep going with our chronic suffering, and just kind of from cradle to grave, they have a way to kind of suck money out of us and our energy and things of that nature. If you put that twist on it, it makes sense. But otherwise, it's just completely senseless. They're all a bunch of dummies.
Well, I mean, again, if you were in the position of power where you knew, again, we're talking about commodity manipulation, can make a ton of money. We see these politicians that have salaries that don't equate to the type of wealth they have, but then yet they seem to be able to play the stock market almost infallibly. And again, they know when to buy what commodities and when to sell what commodities. Maybe if you also knew exactly what was in these mosquitoes that was going to be causing perhaps the next plague upon the land of some sort, you would also have already a cure for that made up that then you could offer and make a lot of money if you invest in those companies that are going to be, again, giving the cure out. It's a pretty obvious system, and they've been caught out, but they're still doing it. But they have been caught out. I think it's only a matter of time before we watch, the world overthrow this very, very dark system and manipulation that we've been all going through. FBI seizes Eric Swalwell's devices at airport. Sexual misconduct investigation is escalating. The former congressman's Washington, D.C. home was subsequently searched on Sunday. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff going on. There's been so many CEOs and COOs that stepped down. And also we've lost so many people way before their time. I mean, we were covering some amazing athletes that are gone in their 30s and 20s. It's all coming to roost, and the obvious nature of everything that we've been watching has been planned out for decades in advance. And yet, there's still so many that are walking around totally free, and they've caused so much headache and sorrow and despair and illness upon the whole world. Again, it's up to humans to say when they really have had enough and to disrupt the flow of maybe the business cycle, because again, these beings seem to be only really caring for cash and money and fame and that type of thing. Well, again, it'd be nice if we can make a new monetary system and leave them behind. They could have their old monetary system, but we won't acknowledge it. And we'll see how far their money goes then.
Yeah, there is that, but I just don't think it's so difficult to pull everything together because the world is so extremely convoluted, and the hardwiring. So that's what's coming to me now, looking at the hardwiring of our matrix. They started everything in favor of them because they have these beings that can see things from a distance on a much different level, not here at eye level. It's like we are stuck in the forest, can't see the forest for the trees. But these beings that set up this network, they do. And they laid the wiring to favor them. So the only way out of this is, well, not going to be easy.
No, remember what happened with Mussolini. I don't know if you guys remember what happened with Mussolini. It wasn't a pretty picture. I wonder if Zelensky will eventually meet a similar fate. Zelensky and his team's corruption is growing. Photos from the search of Zelensky's deputy Mudra have been published. Over $1 billion stolen. Together with Zelensky, they seized elite real estate and business through raider takeovers. So this is where a lot of our money is going. Yeah, we know. I mean, this is just, the war is a huge money laundering scheme, and it's embezzlement. I mean, they're stealing from all of us. These people are criminal, absolutely. Again, Zelensky goes from shaking his butt on TV, doing sitcoms and all these dancing specials, to legitimately running this country. Yeah, I don't really think so.
Yeah, it's kind of fishy.
It is. I like what Ray said. The actors don't die, they just play another role. Yeah, and like how many John Fettermans are there? And then they're even talking about, we need to get John Fetterman to be, and he's a senator, by the way, from Pennsylvania, to jump from the Democrats to the Republicans. And it's like, well, which actor are you talking about? Which one playing the role of John Fetterman are you talking about? Do you really have an interest in bringing him into the Republican Party? I wish there was no Democrat or Republican Party and we could start something that was actually not bought and paid for. That would be a nice way to go. California Democratic Legislature has formally passed the Stop Nick Shirley Act, sending it to Governor Gavin Newsom for signature. This bill will criminalize Shirley from going around and confronting the fraudsters. This is what he's been doing while recording them, then posting it online, especially immigrant locations. It was pushed by California Attorney General Rob Bonta's wife. Lawmakers blocked Representative Carl DeMaio from speaking out against it. What are they hiding? Well, yeah, again, Newsom has been very, very much in a similar position over at California. It's pretty obvious the corruption that exists over there. And yet we do know, I think they would still like to see the country break up into pieces and still trying to hold on to some of it. We're going to have to see. It's going to be a bumpy ride. I do think, we're in the thick of it now.
Yeah, sometimes the water takes a little getting used to. Things might come along and they might feel distracting or shocking or and that's definitely, I want to say it again because it bothers people. It must have hit a nerve. Buddhist detachment is really important. It's a process and it can really save your nervous system, and that's exactly why we talk about it, because all of our nervous systems are usually the way the news rolls out. We're always on guard. We're always looking, and guess what? When your nervous system is on high alert, you cannot heal. And the best thing that I have learned to do is that detachment, Buddhist detachment. I mean, it's amazing. And so many of these belief systems, I don't believe everything that they believe, but I have taken the golden nuggets and I have used them and they have made my life better.
Yes, absolutely. I like that, Susan. She thought that Fetterman would be a poster child for Neuralink. You could see that. Neuralink will make the politicians easier to control, won't it? You won't have to have anybody behind them coaching them or whispering into a mic. Nick Shirley in April, very interesting connections. With her husband being the Attorney General of California, the goal as a family should be to prosecute and take care and make sure there's so little fraud in the state they could have a peaceful night of sleep. However, while the Attorney General is supposed to be prosecuting fraud, his wife is creating laws to let fraud continue. And they're specifically saying the NGOs that receive money based off of immigrant services don't have to disclose their money. Again, create the migrant problems for more than one reason. And one of the reasons is to create financial opportunity. And we've all heard those stories about migrants getting tons of aid and people that have been here their entire life getting declined for some basic services. Who in the FDA cleared this? Localized farmers market, a fermented egg protein made without a single chicken, is now on the shelves at Walmart and Target. The Ever Company grows its OvoPro protein from yeast and bioreactors, producing something molecularly identical to real egg white. And it's FDA cleared with orders in early 2026 alone, equaling 550% of all of 2025's volume. The company said brands decide whether to mention it on the label. Yes, again, we try to not buy anything from big corporations like General Mills. All these big corporations, they're the problem in my mind. And I don't trust any products that they put out there. Again, what they're going to now is to not even telling us when things are totally genetically engineered. Lab-grown eggs, they're approved. And they're secretly being sold in Walmart, Target, and in restaurants, and we don't know. That's scary.
That's horrible. That's horrible. And it is frightening as it might seem to get eggs from a farmer because you're not always sure what are they feeding their chickens. It's better than this. It's going to be better than this. I mean, that is really crazy. And if you can help a farmer, if you are in a position and you have the ability and you have, one day a week where you could go for a couple hours and it's not going to stress you, it might be a good idea to just even get to know that farmer.
Yeah, let's do a big push to just get rid of the FDA and start over with a legitimate department that's really going to look out for the health and welfare of everybody and not the profits of these companies. Lab-created dairy. There you go. Eggs and now dairy is approved by the FDA for sale in the U.S. And if you shop at stores like Target, Sprouts, or Kroger, you may already be consuming it unknowingly, unless you're carefully reading labels on all cheese, ice cream, or milk products. And because something was good last time you went shopping, don't skip reading the label. I've caught that so many times. because these small companies, when they start doing real good, they get bought out, and then all the products decline in quality, and they start slipping in carrageen and dyes and other things that are toxic, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yes, down with the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. Yeah, they administer it, and it's just, I know these three-letter agencies, they are part of the hard wiring that we're dealing with right now, and that's what makes this so hard. And they're pushing so hard to try to get everything automated, and I think that's going to be the final tripwire. And thanks for stopping in, JW. It was great to see you, and we truly appreciate your help.
And this is Nicholas Holscher. Again, he's associated with Dr. Pia McCullough's foundation. Treading carefully on this subject, first ever study links certain things, ouch, to the 10,000% rise in alpha-gal syndrome. We found more than 90% of U.S. children that did things. You know what we mean. Well, there's that alpha-gal bearing mammalian gelatin that's in the system. And so basically is what they're bringing up is it looks like there could be a correlation on how hard you're hit by this new syndrome with the choices you've made otherwise, if you know what I mean. And I'm going to post this link so you could look more into it. Again, you have to be really careful when you talk about these type of things because they're very, very touchy about it. This is a real problem. I mean, I myself, like I shared with you guys, I had 4 Lone Star tick bites in like 24 hours. And these 4 bites were different than any other I've ever had. Way different because they oozed, and it was almost as if acid was put on you. And they took the longest time to really heal. It was completely unusual. This was, in my opinion...
And they barely touched you.
Yeah, they barely touched me. I mean, I got them all off of me, like, right away. The bites were only, like, in a case of one, not even, like, a minute, not even, like, 30 seconds. And it was amazing what it did. So, it's very scary stuff. We can overcome all these things. I really think we can. But if you're eating a standard American diet, you're still eating junk food and things, taking in tons of sugars. That's when I think the body will not be able to overcome it. This person asked Rock if there's any more supporting evidence, and it said, yeah, supporting evidence exists for several components of the claims. The rest is a hypothesis. But yeah, alpha-gal is a dark, dark syndrome, and the other choices that we make are going to be probably what, the outcome is going to be dependent on making the right choices.
And, I mean, just in all in predictable form, the government has come out announcing they're galloping to the rescue with putting aside some, I think it was like $2 billion for the research of limes and alpha-gal and all of those that are suffering. So they're just padding somebody else's pockets. It's the, I think it's called the totalitarian tiptoe, where they cause the problem and then they come running with the solution, and then all their buddies get rich, and it's just not fair. And I could have almost vomited because I look at RFK and I think he's doing a lot of good things. But he was the one making this announcement, and they're all in bed together, and it just really disappointed me because I know that he knows. I know that he knows. They all know.
He's afraid of ending up like his father and uncle.
There's that, I get it. I get it. It's still, even if he has that fear, and that's a perfectly understandable fear, it hurts. It hurts just because that it is what it is, and that it's out there, and what can we really do to fix it?
Lucid Farm says you have to just get out there and plant anywhere you can. I have grow rooms in all my bedrooms a few years ago. That is awesome. I was getting a little inspiration yesterday for an idea to utilize like a through winter greenhouse. We have a small like 8x10 greenhouse, but that's not enough. Yeah, we're okay. Mary D says, were all ticks created at Plum Island? No, but the thing is that they were amped there. That's one of the places that we know they did gain of function testing on. So it just boggles the mind. Why would you ever make something worse, right? Unless your intentions are very malevolent to most of us. In a breakthrough that could reshape cancer treatment, scientists discovered that honeybee venom can destroy 100% of aggressive breast cancer cells in less than 60 minutes. The key lies in a powerful compound called melittin, found in honeybee venom, but not in bumblebee venom. Researchers tested the venom on various breast cancer cell types in lab dishes and found that melittin acts like a precision-guided weapon. It punches holes in cancer cell membranes, causing the cells to die quickly. What's even more promising is that melittin leaves healthy cells largely untouched, suggesting it could be used for treatments with less effects than chemotherapy or radiation. Again, I've seen some sources stating that the chemo is 97% ineffective. I don't even know why we would go that route. With that type of track record. Again, the other thing that it does is it ends up weakening your body's natural response. That which literally is trying to protect you and your body. I trust nature. I don't trust any of these mad scientists, that's for sure. And nature has given us everything that we need. We just have to learn what to utilize what for.
I know nature has everything. Nature absolutely has everything that we need, and it's underestimated. And we were just looking at, what weeds in our yard, and there's a lot of them. And I looked it up to see, okay, what are these and what do they do? And sure enough, all kinds of stuff. They're a diuretic, they're liver support, they can break down gallstones, and all of these things that these supposed weeds, they're wild weeds. Yeah, they wouldn't cost us a penny. And, it's all the things that we need to stay healthy. So it was just kind of funny. And we also have a lot of fennel, and that just grows wild here too. So I'm thinking, maybe I can just start making teas, that would work. And we have some very valuable medicine on this property that I'm just so grateful for.
Yeah, we have to learn the natural way of things because, again, nature has the answers because this was all planned. And, they put everything we need here. So whether you believe it's God or source or, whatever the God is, the divine feminine, whatever labels we want to give, everything we need is right here. And literally what they do with the pharmaceutical industry is they look for a compound that they can isolate, they change it, because when you change something and you manipulate it, then you could patent it because it's not appearing in nature, and then that's what they make money on. As opposed to just find what that natural thing was that they ended up changing and manipulating, and use that because it's going to have binders in it. It's going to have buffers in it. It's generally going to be easier for the body to use it with less side effects, but they can't make money on it. So that's why they don't do what they do, or that's what they do. LED bulbs, right? Yeah, this neuroscientist warned that our reliance on LED light bulbs has created an asbestos-level public health crisis. Asbestos was in so many different things, and we didn't realize how toxic it was. I've known people that have died from asbestos exposure. And the LED lights are a nightmare too. We have started to replace ours with going back to incandescent, even though it's harder to find them, and you even got to pay more to get them. But the LEDs, these light-emitting diodes, they've revolutionized energy efficiency, but constant exposure to them can come with a massive physiological cost. According to Dr. Glenn Jeffrey, a leading neuroscience professor at University College London, standard commercial LEDs lack the essential red and near-infrared wavelengths found in natural sunlight and older incandescent bulbs. The restricted spectrum, dominated by shortwave blue light, directly impacts mitochondria. That's the powerhouse of your cells. You're killing your mitochondria, you're killing your cells, you're killing yourself. It's just that simple. Because mitochondria are light sensitive and rely on longer infrared wavelengths to optimize energy production, our indoor light environments may be keeping our cellular energy engines running on empty. Think about the impact. When did they put these in? Right? When were these becoming the biggest thing? I think it was around the same time that 5G was coming out. We were switching over to 5G, which was blasting us with frequencies there. So when you see it's going on, this is a perfectly orchestrated scenario where they know, in my opinion, what they're doing. And what they're doing is they're lowering our ability to have a fully functioning immune system.
That's what they do. That's what they do.
This is so obvious. It's so obvious. The infrared starvation is linked to a cascade of systemic issues: slow metabolism, impaired vision, poor blood sugar, right? How much of this is going like just out of control in our country here in the U.S. for sure? Dr. Jeffrey has boldly compared the widespread adoption of these to an asbestos-level health crisis. Long-term impact on aging populations could overwhelm public health systems. Yeah, there you go. It's your mitochondria are everything. That's your engine. That's the engine of the cells, and they're weakening it. If you get any onions that have this black spots, this is a nasty mold. Just throw them out. You could cut through the layers and try to get to what's salvageable, but it's very harmful in the long run. There's mycotoxins in there that could linger. I wouldn't risk it. I just threw out a couple onions today too, because we're not eating as much as we used to, and we're just not going through them as quick.
Yeah, better safe than sorry with that mold stuff.
Black mold is just a disaster. It is horrible. I know there's a lot of you out there that probably have gone through issues with mold.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really horrible. And the things that go with it, the anxiety, I know I dealt with it for a little while. It was like the hardest thing I've ever dealt with was that mold. It was awful, and sugar feeds it. And I'm just still at my learning stages, and I wasn't fully aware. I was eating clean, but it wasn't enough. It was not enough.
I agree with you, Chris. It's a slow kill situation. Absolutely. And yes, Diana, the blue light from cell phones, from all sorts of stuff, like our camper, it drove me crazy. They have this brilliant, bright light that when you're laying there in bed in a camper, it's staring at you right opposite you. Whoever thought to put that there, I don't know, but it's not good for sleep. We tried to get the bedroom as dark as possible. I'm actually one of those crazy old people that puts on like eye blinders, the little face mask at times, because I just feel like I need it to be perfectly dark in order to get the pineal gland to switch over and start making that melatonin. By the way, too, get out in the sunshine during the day. I was never a morning person, and I'm a morning person now. In fact, as soon as it's turning dark, the chickens go in. I wait for the chickens to go in, and that's when we go to bed. We go to bed at 8, and if we get up at 5 or whatever, it's a much better cycle. And this like old farmers type of cycle is the healthier cycle. You want to go with the solar cycle and the rising and falling of the sun. Standard time, they want to make daylight savings time permanent. That's going to move us farther away permanently from when the sun rises and sets. That's actually not healthy for us either. We need to be more on permanent standard time, which is more associated with the true rising and setting of the sun.
Yeah, I think that's really important. We got to look at nature and birds and children and our pets. They really don't care about the daylight savings time.
Yes. So a long-running study of the University of Helsinki found that women who engage regularly, and grandma hobbies like knitting, sewing, crocheting, and gardening tend to live up to 8 years longer on average. That's pretty wild, right? These activities help to calm the nervous system by lowering stress and promoting a meditative, focused state through repetitive movement. They also build confidence by creating a sense of purpose, routine, and visible accomplishment. Mentally, such hobbies keep the brain active, supporting memory, attention, and cognitive flexibility as women age. Together, these effects show simple creative pastimes can be deeply therapeutic, emotionally grounding, and beneficial for long-term health. Yeah, two things I love to do is take a motorcycle ride, especially when it's getting to have the sunset, and it just feels a little more peaceful, and play guitar, which I haven't done enough lately, because you could just get lost in it.
Yeah, I think it's really important learning these hobbies, and especially, women, it's been long known that women, when they come together, they cycle together. And that's because they're actually exchanging hormones, just by being like, within a foot or two of each other. When women come together, it's a healing fest, whether we know it or not. All the happy hormones go up, and women bond, and men too, but I like to study and research more about women and how we are very much one with the planet. I mean, we cycle with the moon. It's in the cosmos. It's so interesting how when women come together, that healing energy just really goes up.
Yeah, absolutely. So here you go with more products testing high. This is Moms Across America. First time I ever came across this, 21,000 followers. They first tested Bonza pasta. They found the highest levels of glyphosate ever reported in our lab. We published the results. Customers spoke up, and Bonza took action. This is why we do this and keep bringing this stuff up. Now, our latest independent testing shows glyphosate levels in Bonza pasta have dropped more than 543 times to nearly non-detectable levels. After cooking, the highest tested sample came back non-detectable. That's huge. That's success. I also noticed with the weather looks weird.
Oh my God.
What the heck is that out there?
I don't know, but let's hang it up.
Wow,
Looks bad.
that's so weird, guys. It's getting strangely,
really weird.
crazily stormy here. It's like a hurricane or something in the front.
Hang it up. I'm gonna put
Okay,
dog collars on.
so let me thank you guys, because it looks crazy here, for this live. It was great. Thanks so much for the support, guys. This will probably just blow by, but my God, it looks like we have a dust devil in the front yard. This is just bizarre. It's like we're being targeted directly here. Again, thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do it without you guys. As you see, this street cleaner and this little supervisor. And we'll try to get live again tomorrow night, and hopefully we'll have some better news, but again, there is positive to take from this. People complained this company changed its formula, and it's now putting out a healthier product. I hadn't drank coconut milk in a long time, but I'm omitting dairy right now because of the alpha-gal syndrome. And, I noticed that the coconut milk used to, at one point in time, have carrageenan in it. Now that company doesn't have carrageenan in it at all anymore. That's Califia, by the way. So we can make a difference. We can make a difference, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Loka samasta suki no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may our thoughts, words, acts, and deeds contribute to the happiness and freedom of all beings. Do you have a ding, sweet? It'll be okay. She's going to give you a quick ding.
Y'all are amazing. Source bless and namaste.
Much love, guys. Namaste.